Hello, and
Right.
thank you for stopping by the Massachusetts Beer Reviews channel of YouTube. With us is the company of panelists for our examination of Samuel Smith Brewery beers. Today, from left to right, we have John H. Pierre from TV Ramble. John's got his own beer review channel. Go check him out.
Hey,
From
how are y'all doing this
Mobile,
evening?
Alabama.
Is that better, guys?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, cool.
And we have the one and only Jeff Brister. Long time no see in the beer community. Hello, sir. Thanks for joining.
Hello.
From Missouri. We have also, why can't I think of your name? Michael Komaroff. He's here every week supporting the channel. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining.
Good to be here.
And what do you all have this evening for Samuel Smith beers?
I'll
start with Michael Komaroff. What do you got?
I have their flagship, their organic lager.
What does Jeff Brister have this evening?
I have the organic chocolate stout.
Ooh. And what does John H. Pierre have?
As what Jeff has as well. I have the organic chocolate stout as well.
Excellent. My beer, I'm pulling up the chat live right now. We have Gabriel Salia. He says hello from, I believe he's in Phoenix, Arizona, a local favorite around the channel. And for me this evening, I have their Imperial Stout, which is only at a measly, where is it? It's at a measly, it says 7% somewhere on the bottle. But that's really, I find it to be really low. Yeah, there it is. 7%. Measly and low for Imperial Stout.
Stout's only 5%.
All right.
And mine is 5% as well.
The Samuel Smith Brewery started at the the original well was at the old brewery, which sunk in 1758, and it's still in use today. Which is what feeds the brewery their water. Kind of cool. And I believe they're from Tadcaster, England. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
I believe so. Yeah, they say brewed at Samuel Smith's small traditional British brewery with well water. The original well sunk in 1758, and it's still in use. Best barley, malt, roasted barley, yeast, and hops to create a rich, flavorful ale. So, or lager if you're Michael Komaroff this evening. So, who's got a beer open and wants to tell us about the aroma and appearance?
This is the pour.
A lot of chocolate with my beer immediately.
You can go.
Yeah, what you got, John?
The Samuel Smith organic chocolate stout.
Go right ahead on that description of the color and aroma.
Very fragrant.
If you want.
Almost like you're going to eat like a chocolate cake or a chocolate torte. It smells so good.
All right.
Dark chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate.
He's going straight from the bottle, son.
Malt liquor. Hey.
Malt liquor. Get that thing in a damn glass, fool. All right. Let's go back to Michael Komaroff. What do you got for looks and smells?
This is what the part of the pour looks like. It's very clear golden with lots of bubbles, lots of carbonation.
Excellent.
And it has kind of a grainy kind of nose.
That's about it so far?
I'm going to keep smelling it.
All right. Keep smelling away. There is the Imperial Stout.
I'm sorry to interrupt, guys, but it's been so cold, oddly, down here in Mobile at nighttime. Jeff, where do you live? You live in Louisiana or Mississippi?
Yes, honey.
Mississippi. All right.
Yeah,
I said Missouri. I apologize.
Cold down here at night the past couple of days. So this would probably be a good beer brew to have this evening.
And without further ado, I will definitely describe this Imperial Stout. Again, measly 7% for an Imperial Stout. This one, it's so black, you see a reflection out of the camera. There is a lot of ruby red tinges in this, dark mahogany, but pretty black. This is supposed to be, quote, a stout glass, but it doesn't even hold much of a head, if any. But there is a fine rim of the head. There's a little bit of lacing, not so much. This probably smells a lot like John's, where it does have a lot of that cakey, flowery, dark chocolate kind of a note to it. Just like a dark chocolate bar or like a melted dark fudge sickle or something like that. Exactly. Lots of, I would say medium, not really dark roasted, but medium roasted sort of coffee notes. Maybe some dark, maybe some like raisiny kind of a dark fruit notes, but overall, I mean, there's a little bit of a, I can tell that there's going to be a little bit of a sticky sort of a sweetness to it. There is some, I guess, like a little light molasses kind of note, and maybe some brown bread in there. But I don't know why a Massachusetts boy says brown bread, but yeah, it smells pretty good. I can't complain. So, cheers. Let's do it. Samuel Smith. I don't think I've ever had this beer, so cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers, and screw 16 and a half inches of snow that fell yesterday in a blizzard.
Screw my damn job, but if they're watching, oh well.
You need beer money, man. Come on.
I'm sorry.
Beer money.
They don't watch. They don't subscribe. I don't know.
So you seem like you're all ready to go and fired up about beer. What you getting out of the chocolate stout?
So far, as I mentioned, it has that sort of that chocolate bar, semi-sweet, dark chocolate sort of scent to it. It's very fragrant. It has some, I don't say maybe butterscotch, but it is a little of it in there, tracings of it, just from my view of it. I have a lot of head, as you can see up top right here.
I do not, which is kind of interesting for a similar style.
So that's a little amount, and I see Jeff has a little bit of amount in his. Mine's I have a lot of head on top. Well, I poured in a cold glass, so my glass was in the freezer, so I guess, I don't know.
And Kent's Beer Reviews is watching, and he says that he's from England. He would say that their Taddy Porter is their flagship beer. So there you go.
He's probably correct.
But anyways, what else do you get out of the nose of that beer before you taste it?
That's basically it. Like I said, chocolate, sort of like maybe some coffee, like a butterscotch, but mostly chocolate. It's just very fragrant, you know. Semi-sweet, butter, bitter type chocolate,
How's that taste?
Oh, it tastes real good. This is not my first time having this. I've had this like twice before, and I did a review of it, and I gave it a very high favorable score on this. So,
Jeff, are you getting anything else that he didn't say?
After tasting it, it has a little bit of almost like an espresso kind of aftertaste, but definitely heavy chocolate from it. It's very good. It's definitely a dessert beer.
Yes, I would agree with that, Jeff.
The website. Oh, sorry. I'm letting our buddy Jordan from the beer review channel Review Under Influence know that we're drinking Samuel Smith beers today, and apparently a lot of the Samuel Smith beers, as listed on SamuelSmithBrewery.co.uk, say that they are registered with the Vegan Society, suitable for vegans and vegetarians. So no excuse for not drinking good beer, vegetarians. But ding.
Beer came out in 1758.
Wow.
Yeah, 5% ABV on this one.
You think they were drinking a lot of chocolate stouts in 1758?
I don't know.
But yeah, the beer that I have is, again, it's the Imperial Stout. They're just using water, malted barley, roasted malt, cane sugar, yeast, and hops. Again, this one's 7% alcohol by volume, and it's 5.8 carbohydrates, so not so bad, to be completely honest, for this style of beer. It's very similar to how Jean had described his chocolate stout and what Jeff Brister was saying about the finish of the beer. There is a little bit of an espresso note to it. There is like a melted down dark chocolate bar. There's a lot of, like I said, that cakey, flowery kind of a dark chocolate cake kind of a feel of this one.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's definitely some medium roasted coffee. There's the brown bread for the maltiness to it. There's a little bit of like a lactic souringness that I can kind of notice in a lot of darker beers as they dry. I would say that the finish is, I'd say it's semi-dry. It's not the driest stout. It's not like a Guinness everyone's going to be drinking on Saturday.
Yeah. Would it be better if the ABV was up a little bit higher on this one?
This one is, I don't know. It's pretty tame for an imperial stout. It might be better if just not that it's a bad beer. I cannot claim that it's a bad beer. So I'm also getting a little bit of, like I said, those dark fruited raisin notes. And I don't know how to describe this, but there's like a little bit of a chalkiness in there. There's like a little bit of this film that kind of coats your mouth a little bit. It's got a little bit of heft, but I think in general, and it does taste like it's darker roasted malts in there, and it has a little bit more slightly syrupy sweetness to kind of remind you of an imperial stout. And what they're trying to do, as they say, is this distinctive type of ale was originally shipped to Imperial Russia. It was a favorite of Russian nobility. And I think that first beer was, I'm trying to remember, the Youngs and Wells company that makes the Young's Double Chocolate Stout makes a beer called John Courage Russian Imperial Stout. And that one's great because that tastes really, really great. And it's actually utilizing the original recipe of a Russian Imperial Stout. So this one here, I think it would be a lot better if it was just bigger and bolder and had not necessarily a huge ABV, but if it had more malts and more, just complex kind of flavors, it might be light, much better. It's very light for an Imperial Stout. Yeah, that's definitely a better Imperial Stout for me. But I think if you've never tried Imperial Stouts, this one is really a great one to try. It's really great introductory beer, and it's very approachable. And for what it is, it's extremely drinkable.
Most of the Russian Imperial Stouts, I think, in the United States are at least 10% ABV. But like you say, it doesn't have to be the ABV. It can be just the general heft of the beer, how substantial it is.
Yeah,
that's true. Like 1050, what's the
Oscar Blues?
Yeah,
mine, it drinks like a typical lager, but it has more taste than your macros. Now, whether that's because it's this famous well water that it's made with, or just the way it's brewed, I'm not sure which is the answer. It just has a very nice taste. And how would I describe the taste?
I was going to say, what makes that beer better to you than what's commercially available around Europe, Latin America, Canada, and the United States?
Well, it just seems like maybe it's clean. It has a very clean taste, and that might be the well water. I don't know.
Apparently, according to the website, they're only using water, organic malted barley. If this is the organic lager, they're using organic malted barley, yeast, organic hops, and carbon dioxide. So, and again, it's another registered vegan beer. So vegans and hippies drink that beer.
I guess the main point I'm making is it's clean,
it's pure,
very refreshing. But I guess other lagers can be refreshing as well. But it's the cleanness of this, which I guess is the water.
And Gabriel Salia is asking what makes a beer vegan. They just say that it's suitable for vegans and vegetarians and registered with the Vegan Society. I assume what that means is that none of the ingredients have anything to do with an animal or have a byproduct from an animal in its creation. That's what I'm guessing. Or it's not genetically modified, so it wasn't created in a lab, right? Unless you're drinking Simcoe hops or something. Or eating edamame or something. I don't know. So you like that beer?
Yes, I do.
All right. How is Chocolate Stout treating Jeff Brister this evening?
It almost comes across as a session stout. It's that easy to drink. It's 5% ABV. It's heavy chocolate, but I could use a little bit more stoutiness to it for it to be stout.
A little more heft.
Yeah.
Agree or disagree, John H. Pierre?
I'm sorry. Repeat that.
Do you agree with Jeff Brister that it could use a little bit more, that the chocolate stout could use more stout, bigger flavors?
I think it needs a little more booze in it, in my opinion. I mean, this is kind of. I'm more favorable towards the Imperials. You know, what was that one I tried? It was a chocolate stout from a British brewery. I think it was Roberts or something Young's or something like that.
Yeah, well, there's Young's double chocolate stout.
Right. Yeah, that was also tame. And I said to myself, you know, Rasputin, even the Guinness Foreign Extra Stout to me was a lot better than this. And nothing against it. I think it's good, very well made beer, but it's just, I like mine with, I guess maybe I like my stouts to have a little more punch to it. So
yeah, they probably should.
But this is overall pretty good. So
if they put the word session on the label, that would make more sense.
Probably that might what they need to do. Yeah, session IPAs versus Imperials or double IPAs. You know.
Well, there's the head if you swirl. Kent Beer Reviews again from England. Hello, sir. He says in the chat for the Samuel Smith Russian Imperial Stout at 7%. He says this is a very low Russian Imperial Stout, even for the UK. And back then, and back in the day, this would be a huge ABV. Most craft RI Russian Imperial Stouts are, like you say, 9 to 13% over here too. So, yeah, I guess we don't really have a great context for the historical nature of some of these beers, as far as maybe like Kent Beer Review said, the Imperial Stout here at 7% would have been huge. Although I guess huge is a different word when you're drinking beer than if you're drinking liquor or wine or mead or something like that. But I mean, I would agree with Jeff Brister and definitely with John H. Pierre about wanting more of a stoutier, heartier flavor out of the beer. Now, again, if I swirl the glass enough times, it can regenerate the head, which is giving me a lot more of the dark fruited, kind of dark chocolatey notes for sure when I do that. I would say it's probably straight up medium-bodied beer, leaning towards full-bodied, but definitely more in the medium range. There's a lot of almost like I said, lactic souring kind of notes. It's not like any kind of mouth puckering thing, but it's sometimes you get that when you have like a dairy kind of a product or a dairy flavor, you can get that kind of a finish to it. It's pretty well carbonated. It's not harsh in any way with the carbonation. And like I said earlier, it's very drinkable for what it is. I mean, it's not a bad beer. It's, like I said, great introduction to Imperial Stouts. I think I just want a bigger, bolder kind of a stout. It doesn't always have to be barrel-aged to be a great beer, but I think I would want just a bigger, bolder beer. So I don't know. If I had to rate the beer at the immediate moment in time, it would at least get an 85, I guess. And that might even be a little bit generous, but I think B+. I think a low B+ is probably good for this. I mean, it's a really great beer. It's just not one of the more memorable Imperial Stouts if you are looking for big, bold flavors.
I give mine a B as well, for it somewhere. A quick question, guys, all of you. What was the first, and I know Michael has another beer, but what was the first stout that was easily accessible to you guys to get once you all became of legal drinking age?
It was the regular Guinness.
Yeah.
Guinness Draft. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my
Yeah,
answer
same.
too.
That's the first one I drank.
Yeah.
I
Sir
went
Guinness
from
is the godfather of
I went from Guinness Draft to I forget what year it was. It must have been 2011 or 10. I went from Guinness Draft to Bourbon County Stout. Now, being way too young and thinking all stouts are the same, that was a little bit of a shock to my senses. I was not prepared for such a beer at 21 years of age, but I've grown to really appreciate really low ABV stouts and everything in between.
Okay.
I guess my next question, I guess the next question that I have, which I always have the idea to say the question before we start drinking the beer, but I never remember to ask the question. But I'm curious, maybe starting with Michael Komaroff, what's your experience, if you do recall your experiences with the Samuel Smith beers?
Well, the one he mentioned as the flagship I have had.
Oh, the Taddy Porter.
The Taddy Porter, and that's a good beer too. And I guess the reason I thought this lager is because this is the one that's easiest for me to get. I can get this more easily than the chocolate stout. I can get the chocolate stout too. But they have some other ones too. They make an oatmeal stout that's also good. It seems to be easy to get all these Samuel Smith beers in New York City, though. It's not a hard thing to do. And they're full line, unless they have some rare stuff that I haven't seen.
Sure. They also do a lot of different ciders and pear ciders known as Perry's. For all you people
I've had that as well.
For all you people that aren't big beer people, they still have something that may appeal to you. What's your experiences with the Samuel Smith beers, Jeff Brister?
I've had the oatmeal stout, which is good. And I think I remember having the imperial stout that you're drinking. I also have had the imperial cider.
Ooh.
Or something.
Sounds good.
Something about Samuel Smith's, organic cider, not imperial.
I know they did a cider. Wow.
Yeah, they do. They have an organic cider, organic Perry, organic cherry fruit beer, organic strawberry fruit beer, organic raspberry, and organic apricot fruit beers. So there you go. And they also do imperial wheat beers, winter warmers, chocolate stouts, India pale ales, brown ales, pale ales, organic brewed lagers. So yeah, they got a lot of different things for people. But your history with the Samuel Smith, John H. Pierre.
Like I said, the organic stout was the first and only Samuel Smith beer I've had, and this is my third time having it. Again, I think it's a very good beer. I would love to try all their other stuff. I know, what was it? There's this nut brown ale that they do, which
it's pretty popular.
If I reviewed it or not, but I guess I'll look it up. Like I said, both bottles I bought at Rouse's for $4.49 plus tax for the size of the bottle. As you can see right here, pretty, I guess an 18-ounce size, 550 milliliter bottle, or pint, I guess.
It's close enough to an American pint.
And like I said, this is an enjoyable chocolate stout. So I give it a A-B score for it. So.
I don't know if there's a different bottling that they do at Samuel Smith for export, say to America, to the United States, but my bottle is a real honest to goodness 12 fluid ounce bottle. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy about not getting gypped off 0.8 ounces of any beer here. So I believe that my experience with the Samuel Smith actually started, not really that surprising, right? It actually started with Michael Komaroff's beer that he's drinking right now, the organic brewed lager. And if I went on to Beer Advocate, and I haven't had it in some time, but if I went on to Beer Advocate and looked up my rating from maybe like 2011 or 12, I remember thinking extremely highly of that beer and thinking that that's the way that lagers were intended to taste. And it gives beers like Budweiser and Miller and Coors a run for their money, although maybe not necessarily in price and in the volume you can buy the beer at. But I I really do like that beer, and I think I've had the chocolate stout. I know I've had the India Pale Ale. I know I've had their cider, and I know I've had the nut brown and the Taddy Porter, and then this is probably, I don't know if it's the weakest of all the ones that I've had, but it's at least the least exciting one that I've had. I mean, it's a great beer, don't get me wrong, but as Jeff Brister said about his chocolate stout, it just isn't stout like or stouty enough. This is not doesn't have, when you think of an imperial stout, you kind of have some expectations. It's going to be a big, bold, complex, in your face kind of a drinking experience, and this has a little bit of some boldness to it, but it's leaving you wanting more to come out of it than there is in it.
Are all of Samuel Smith's beers organic, or just the ones that say that in the title of the beer?
Great question.
What do they say on the website, Eric?
If I try to look up a beer, if I look up, say, India Ale, I think it's only the beers, because this India Ale doesn't mention anything about organic ingredients. The Taddy Porter doesn't, and the Imperial Stout doesn't. So I'm guessing that only the ones that mention the word organic have these organic ingredients. And the organic ingredients are, let's see.
It says on the side of the bottle, organic malted barley,
Yep.
organic hops, yeast, and water.
Correct. But they all seem like every single one of their beers are suitable for vegans and vegetarians and registered with the Vegan Society. So that's kind of cool, I guess. I never really thought about drinking beer and thinking if it was vegan friendly or not.
Neither did I.
Not really.
I'm going to give mine an A-, a 91.
All right. If anything could be, and I think you've had that beer before on the channel when we did crafty or lagers.
I guess we did the lagers. I wanted something different.
But what, and I don't recall from that period of time, but what if you're going to give that a 91? What could be improved upon in that organic lager?
Maybe more taste. You know, it has good taste. Maybe they could make it even better. I don't know. It's
more tasty.
More tasty, but it's very tasty. I mean, 91 is a good tasting lager for me because I'm not exactly, as you know, a lager, fanatic.
Right.
I've rated the chocolate stout much higher than John did. I've actually have that in the A- range also when I've had it. Okay. But it's a matter of what you like and what you don't. And as a dessert beer, I think it's really good.
Something more imperial, I feel, for me, Mike, is, a little bit punch to it, whether it be 1050, whether it be All Rasputin.
I understand.
Even the barrel age 1050 they put out. With
yes.
That would be something for me.
No, I agree. I agree with that. It's just, I guess, in a session beer, it's probably all you can expect.
Right.
And the Samuel Smith beers in everybody's area, they're pretty easy to find.
Yeah, but those are the two we get. The one you drinking, Eric, I can't get that. But the two, like the organic and the nut brown ale, are probably more popular. More readily available down here, and at least in my area. I don't know about Jeff if it's the same. So
I can get this and the oatmeal stout. Those are the ones that I've seen here recently.
What's it like in Brooklyn for Samuel Smith beer?
I think you can get everything. In other words, I've seen the Taddy Porter. You can always get the chocolate stout. This lager is fairly readily available. The nut brown, a couple of the ciders are available as well.
Yeah,
I think you get pretty much anything. And my food co-op has it, so they always have 5 or 6, and maybe they make 8, so they might be missing 1 or 2.
Yeah, I feel like most of the beers, like Michael Komaroff was talking about, we get here in southeastern Massachusetts. I'm on their website. I've seen the organic brewed lager. I don't know if I've ever seen the organic pale ale. I've seen the nut brown, India ale, chocolate stout. There's one called Yorkshire Stingo that
I've never seen that.
I don't think I've seen that, and it's supposed to be some kind of a oaked, aged, conditioned beer. Maybe it's like a ESB or something. I think I've seen their winter warmer, oatmeal stout, taddy porter, obviously imperial stout.
I've had the winter warmer before.
I don't think I've seen the organic wheat beer, which I would try that. And I've seen most of these fruited Perry ciders and the fruit beers. But for me in general, even with this being in an imperial stout that I'm drinking, I find that, and the winter warmer is only 6%, so that's even a small winter warmer. I find that even in drinking the imperial stout here, with the experience I've had with some of the other beers, that they're a very safe and very approachable brewery for anybody to try a beer at. Like I was saying earlier, I think that they have a beer that will suit anybody's taste, and they're going to have really good flavors, but I don't think any one of them necessarily is going to rock your world or knock your socks off.
Transitional brewery, kind of like Sam Adams.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not trying to say that about Samuel Smith, because I think they do a really good job with their beers. But I think every country probably has their one brewery, or maybe a craftier kind of a brewery that is just kind of known for making on the safe side beers, where it's not going to knock off anybody's socks, but it's definitely better than what's mass produced on the market for sure. So if you've seen any of these beers out there on your store shelf, I would implore you to try it at least. You can't go wrong with any of them. Just if you're looking for a big, bold, extreme drinking experience, you might be a little disappointed, I would say, from the Samuel Smith beers, not to be confused with Sam Adams or San Miguel, which is different. Kent Beer Review says, hard to get a hold of in my part of England. Had to order them online for the range of bottles. I can travel to London to their pub chains and drink them on cask. Now that's interesting that even in England, it's hard to get these beers. And we get them readily available.
So they may be a company that does more exporting than they do for their own use.
I mean, can anybody think of a bigger brand that we get in the United States as far as English beers are concerned than Samuel Smith?
In the early days of my drinking, we used to get a lot of something called Whitbread. I'm not even sure if it's available.
I've never even heard of that.
That was an English beer, but maybe it's not available anymore. Maybe they don't export it anymore. The other ones you were mentioning before, I think we can get, but maybe not in as large number. The one that John mentioned or you mentioned before.
The only other bigger one I can think, probably even bigger than, it's got to be bigger than Samuel Smith, probably would be the Fuller's, Fullers, the Fuller's line of beers.
Yeah, they have a full line, like you say.
So that's England, but then again, you can get all these beers from Newcastle, which is technically United Kingdom and is in Scotland. That's a gigantic worldwide brewery. Then we get these different Robinson Brewery beers, thanks to Bruce Dickinson, lead singer of Iron Maiden, collaborating with Robinson's Breweries to bring us Iron Maiden beers around the world. They have a lot of different ESBs and some different stouts. I did when we did our English beer review of all things, I chose the Iron Maiden Trooper. It was a Belgian dark strong ale, so go figure. Almost a quadruple. So those are probably the bigger ones, but I like Young's and Wells. Young's Double Chocolate Stout's one of my favorite all-time beers. But a lot of people in England kind of consider those beers almost like their versions of macros. And when we think about ESBs almost in America being more of a craft beer style, it's just one of their bigger macro mass-produced styles in England. So, I mean, good stuff overall. I can't really complain. At least give it a try. I don't think you'll be overly disappointed. You might not get as much as you want out of these beers, but they're still good. Does anybody else have any concluding thoughts on Samuel Smith?
The organic chocolate stout was very good for what it is. It says chocolate for a chocolate stout. Might be a good last beer of the night kind of beer, like a dessert beer. But could have used a little more stoutiness in it. If it said session chocolate stout, I would appreciate it a little more. It's more along the session style.
Last words, Michael Komarov.
I think what you're saying is really true. It's a good overall brewer, but they don't really have anything that knocks your socks off. It's a straight line of beers. They're good, but they're not sensational.
Who do you think that their market? Do you think that they have a specific marketing in mind?
I think they're just trying to get since I think they export a lot, I think they want their beer in the United States and other countries with good worldwide distribution, and they're trying to keep the level of what they're making high, but they're not trying to create any people who have to say, hey, this is different than everybody else.
They're not trying to start a revolution?
No, they're just willing to just play the line, go across the. It's how it seems anyway. Huh. It's a good beer, though.
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree with that. I don't think they're trying to start any revolution, and I think more so than anything, they probably are trying to introduce the world to English-style beers. And anywhere I go, we have a local chain of British restaurants called BBC, the British Beer Company. And even if you go to like an Irish bar too, sometimes you'll be able to get either on draft or in the bottles different Samuel Smith's beer. So it's nice for a change of pace, especially if you're like me for the Wednesday nights, and the Tyler Mansell, Mancl, go to his channel. On his Friday nights, I like to pick up mix of 6 bottles, single bottles, so I can try a lot of these beers over the course of a few weeks, and not to commit to 6-packs and 12-packs. And it's just helps bring down the cost a little bit, especially when this is imported and coming over across the Atlantic Ocean.
If you're not busy on Friday, Tyler is doing one on double IPAs this Friday at 7:30 on Wisconsin Beer Review.
That's the newbie. He's doing great things. Go watch him. I think he's probably watching us live now. So, all right. John H. Pierre is back. What are your final thoughts on the beer and on Samuel Smith as a brewery?
I think the brewery puts out some good stuff. I would love to try some of the other things that he put out. But like I said, I need to try the Nut Brown Ale. I've already given my view of the organic chocolate stout. I enjoy it a lot. It's not up there in terms of the Imperials that I like. So I gave it that B+, A- sort of balanced score there. I think they put out some good things, and I love to try. I guess my next one is to try the Nut Brown Ale and give my view of that beer. And,
sure.
But yeah, I think they put out some good things.
Excellent. So I don't think any of us are really disappointed with our beers, nor are we blown away by them. But again, go out and try them for yourself and let us know what you think. So that concludes another
real beer.
Yeah. Okay. That's another conclusion of Massachusetts Beer Reviews. Thanks for joining, everybody. Before we go, we have some amount of topics coming up in the next couple of weeks. Next week is going to be especially important for John H. Pierre and his beer he's drinking right now, because we're going to do a tribute to a great group on Facebook called Regular Ass 2.0 Beers. We're going to drink them. We're going to review them, and we're going to drink regular ass beers. It's a piss-free zone, as our buddy William Kepley would say. And I implore you, if you want to bring a cheap-ass burger with you for the review, then do so. That'll be fun. And then we have in 2 weeks.
One of Checkers to get mines.
Yeah, and then we have in 2 weeks Dogfish beers.
Hey, I did a review of the 90-minute IPA. I don't know if any of y'all seen that, but I really
That's probably what I'm
enjoy
going
that
to bring.
Imperial IPA.
And then 3 weeks, I still have to find one because somehow beer stores don't have it. Barley wines in 3 weeks. We got Dogfish barley wines, Belgian
Tyler.
beers, and 6% beers. So
Hey,
think about all those. Hello,
What's up,
Tyler.
hello.
Hey, Tyler.
You came in at the end of a review. We're about to cut it off. But
Tyler,
just wanted
Tyler,
to
you
talk to you
can
guys
please
about
meet Jeff. Tyler, that's Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Tyler, what are your thoughts, if any, on Samuel Smith beers? Have you ever had any, and what do you think?
Yeah, I've had their organic cider. I've had their organic chocolate stout, and I thought their organic chocolate stout was good, but it just wasn't my favorite for some reason. On the mouthfeel, it was a little light, and it wasn't a bad beer, but to me, it just wasn't what I'm looking for.
Would you say that they're not they haven't changed and rocked your world as far as beers are concerned?
Right. They don't knock my socks off, but I do appreciate the organic products. So
No,
I'll probably come back to them.
no
I do
pun.
want to try a lot of their other stuff, like what Michael was drinking in their oatmeal stout.
No pun intended, but do they kind of remind you of like England's version of Samuel Adams Brewery beers?
A little.
Where they make a wide range of good things, but none of them are just like knock your socks off.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
All right, so all right. Well, I think unless anybody has any final comments, we're gonna call it a review and go off air and maybe do a extra innings beer or something. Who knows? So yeah. This has been Thomas Model 75 and Company, Samuel Smith Beers. And as I always say on my channel, until next time, yes, peace. Until next time, Richard Nixon. Keep tasting those great beers.
Enjoy.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody, with the Bud Ice.
We'll see you soon. Adios. Friday. We mentioned it already, but there is Tyler next to my face. Tyler Mansell, MANCL, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. He is doing Imperial IPAs for a topic. So message me or find him and let's do it. Cheers.
I'll do my best to make it, Tyler. I got a busy weekend of some weddings and other things, so I'll do my best.
And as I say, I am doing 120-minute IPA, so stay tuned for that on Friday. Woo!
I'm bringing something from Two Roads, which you've heard something about. So
just something. So
something probably from Dogfish. I'll bring the 90-minute, I guess.
That's what I was planning on doing for my Dogfish review, but we'll see. Cheers.
Go ahead, Eric. Put it out. I want to see it. Hopefully, you were able to see my Dogfish review of the 90-minute IPA.
Stay tuned, everybody.